we all do in America. 'Cause America inherently is ill with racism, sick with racism. But you know what it was like having grown up in the South, and then having lived that, and then also what it was like to have moved north. Just wondering what that was. What you remember about some of that stuff?
I think it affected certain people different ways. Of course, I came out of the South. I was about 6 years old, but I'd been back numerous times. And I think in my first book, I talk about going south when I was in the military. Had just got in the military, and I was being sent to Camp Gordon, Georgia, and I cried because I didn't want to go no south.
Right.
So I went south, and the altercation I had with the clerk at the bus terminal, and things like that. You're in an area where it's almost like you just cross over into a foreign country, because the laws, there are laws that say what you can do, but the white person next to you don't have to do these kinds of things. So that was the South. That was in order to maintain and control white supremacy. It doesn't mean now that the North was
Shangri-La.
well, yeah, I mean, the North certainly was not innocent.
Right.
I mean, there was slavery in New York State and most of the other states. They just got rid of it sooner, but it was there. And even to this day, we are still victimized by racism, which causes certain kinds of reactions and so forth and so on.
I wanted to say two things. In your book, you talk about having gone down to Georgia and flying down and having to stop in D.C. And because it was still Jim Crow South in Washington, lunch counters and things like that were not desegregated. So you and the other black gentlemen on the plane to stay on the plane and eat some sort of boxed lunches or something like that, while the other cats were able to go.
They were able to go into the terminal and select what they wanted to eat. We had a box lunches on the airplane that was given to us as blacks.
Right.
And they already made the decision what we're going to eat, whatever. You had no choice. Sure.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me to think about that.
That was the Jim Crow South.
Right.
But the one nice thing about it, and I think that not about Jim Crow South, but when we got to Georgia, and we got on base on the Camp Gordon, Georgia. And I never will forget the instructor. And he says, on this base, in so many words, every man fights his own battles. And that was the best thing he could say, because that meant that if I want to fight a white guy, nobody else can get into it. You follow what I'm saying?
Sir.
In other words, they can't gang up on me like they're the Klan. I'm going to whip his behind, and it's going to be over. And that was the greatest thing that could happen to me, because I grew up in South Buffalo.
Right.
And South Buffalo, we moved out there, and I was 10 years old.
What year was this?
It was in 1944.
Okay.
And you had to, the first day out there, it was mentioned in the book also, we moved in that evening and went to bed late that night after you get everything, situated in the house. And early that next morning, it was summertime, and there was this banging on our porch. Bang, bang, tin cans. And my dad gets up, I could hear his feet hit the floor. Boom, because our bedroom was right next to his, meaning my brother and I, we slept in the same bed. And boom, he hits the floor. Goes to the porch, he says, what do you boys want? What do you want on my porch making all that noise? Now, this is our first day there. They said, we want you to send them two little niggas out here. So he said, okay. Just like that. And I knew then, I got up under the covers. I knew what the old man was going to do, man. I got under the cover. He came in the room. He says, get up, both of you. I got something for you to do. Still, he said, I said, get up. And my old man said, get up, he mean it, right? Got up, started put our clothes on. And what he had for us to do, he told us, see them out there? See them 4 boys out there? Get them off our porch, our porch. We had the first time they ever owned a house. Get them off our porch. And my mother interceded. She said, are you crazy sending them kids out? There's 4 of them. My old man said, I don't care. He said, let Theodore whip 2 at a time, while his brother hold the other 2. And when he finishes his first 2, he come over and grab them. And you know something, though? It worked out just like he told us. Then their daddies come on the scene. And he's now, this is my territory now, you know. No man, they fathers here, I handles this. They come over there accusing us of starting the fight.
Right.
And he told him, and he listened to him. After they finished, and I'm going to tell you something. You get the so-and-so out front of my house. Oh, I'm going to bye, you two guys. They turned around right quick and left. And they must have moved in the middle of the night, because I don't remember them moving, you know. But they moved at some point. You know, I mean, those are training days, man.
Yes, sir.
Those were training days. You know, everything was a fist. You should fist in them days. You don't go home and get no knife or a gun. You fist fight. Because the kids, we were proud of Joe Louis. Those were our heroes. They were proud of Jack Dempsey and those, okay?
Right.
They'd be, you know, and when they were fighting, they were going to represent their hero. We fought, we represented our hero. To lose was an embarrassment.
Right.
See? So that was the way I was brought up.
Man, it's amazing stuff. I keep looking over the camera. I'm kind of weird, trying to make sure how far in from 10 minutes or whatever. But we're still going, I suppose. I feel like it looks odd, but you know we're figuring our way through it. But I really do appreciate you being here today.
My pleasure.
One of the things you were talking about was sort of the ills of slavery or the ills of Jim Crow South and things of that nature, and how we're still dealing with things today. And often I think about, you know, a soldier goes to war and sees something that's, you know, unexplainable or that human beings aren't supposed to see. And then you have PTSD from that, and that's somebody who spent maybe 2 to 3 years in the military, and they start thinking about the PTSD of slavery, the PTSD of Jim Crow South, and the PTSD of dealing with institutionalized racism, and how it's not strange that many of us are suffering, how it's not a strange idea that many of us have problems that we're not able to get through. And again, I know we're about to get done right now, but I'll come back to that question in the next break. But thank you. This is the Old Heads. I'm King Bear Sadat. This is Theodore Kirkland. We'll be back in a minute. Yeah, I wanted to talk about specifically that whole idea of like how I was just listening to. I can't think of the name of the poet my father was playing for me. Gary something Jr. Oscar Brown Jr.
Oscar Brown. Okay.
And he was talking about children having children with habits like rabbits. And he said, and no wonder they have children too.
I'm still hearing that sound.
Does it mean moving or? What's to say? You have a different mic now.
Children like rabbits.
He said, children having children have habits like rabbits and have children of their own.
Well, you know, that started in slavery. And, I think I've never criticized women who have children.
Right, of course not.
It's one of those things where whites like to use as an excuse for people not succeeding in life or something. But, and women, I've been around a lot of women, you know, they like to have, if they want a baby,
Right.
they're comfortable, they want
Don't worry about
somebody
that.
to
Just
love.
keep the conversation going. The
Okay.
conversation is more important.
Oscar Brown Jr.?
Oscar Brown.
Okay. I'm sorry, go on, Phil.
No, it's all right.
I'm gonna go right back into this whole subject matter. I think it could be something good.
But it's not unique with blacks.
Yeah,
I
indeed.
mean, the Irish came here, they were absconded from their families, they went off. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, you know, we are we rolling again yet, Pops? We're rolling? Is it one? Yes, go, no? Yes, okay. So I'm gonna go right into it. So again, we're back. This is the Old Heads. I'm King Bear Sadat. This is Theodore Kirkland. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
We're going to start talking more about what I was just talking about or speaking about a little bit a minute ago. Just talking about PTSD and suffering and how suffering that is mounted on top of itself, how it's not strange that people have all kind of issues dealing with the difficulties of society. We talked about whether it's a soldier who sees something that's not meant for humans to see, and then it affecting them. And then you start talking about slavery and the institutionalized racism and how it affects people, whether it be people who get involved in drugs, people who find excuses to say that something happened to them so they don't have success or something of that nature. One of the things I was listening to was Oscar Brown Jr. Doing a piece called Children Having Children, or The Children of Children. And the line he used was, the children of children have habits like rabbits, and it's no secret they have children of their own. And we started talking about how, you just started talking about how that's not something that's unique to the black community. And I've come to understand that, human beings are hardwired to like one another, men and women. I mean, that's why babies are born through famine and war. I mean, so
King talks about that. King talks about that in his speech on why he's opposed to the Vietnam War. He talks about it in terms of war. He says, the country go into Vietnam, whatever, kill the men and rape the children, rape the women. I mean, I saw some of that in Japan when I went. It was shortly after the Japanese had surrendered. Why do you think there's so many prostitutes? They had to feed their children. And I learned from that. I'm 18 years old when I went there, man, I'll tell you. And that was a lesson to be learned if you had an open mind. Then, so when I came back to Buffalo, and I ended up in the police department, and I'm walking Michigan Avenue, that's where, at this particular night, where all the girls were, Okay. And I would keep them moving. I said, okay, girls, keep moving, blah, 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 whatever. So one night, one of them came up to me and they said, Officer Kirkland, you kept milk out of my child. No, you denied my child milk yesterday. Me? You chased all my business away. Now that hit me like a ton of bricks. Even the Bible talks about prostitutes. You see what I'm saying? But what she was saying was putting it in terms of the necessity and the meaning of it to her. She was feeding her babies. Who am I to say she wasn't? I mean, I had been
a right to do that.
Yeah, I've been through periods of unemployment. And I say that in my book. And I know, and at that point, I knew the meaning of what she was saying.
Right.
So from then on, I wasn't chasing nobody no more. Mm. But I was meeting some people. I would meet people like some judges, and I'd go up to their car and I'd say, "Hello, Yana, how are you today?" And he'd be shocked, because then when I go to court, he'd call me up first so I can get me in and get me out. See what I'm saying? He recognized something called power. I had some power over him. If you read that book, really, it was talking in terms of walking the beat. Walking the beat was good for my health. But to say to me that the man riding the car with whites,
right,
okay, was better than me walking the beat. And for my people, black folks, to assume that walking the beat was inferior to riding the car.
Right.
So now I got to deal with that. I have to get in that car, because in the car, I'm going to be respected. I couldn't even go in the firehouse and sit down, which was right across from the precinct, without them calling my supervisor and letting them know I'm over here goofing off or something. Whites could do it. Why could they do all those things that I couldn't do? Because they had a sense of power that I didn't have. So I had to get in the car. Because once in the car, I might run into the fireman's mama. You see what I'm coming from?
Right.
His wife. I could run into a whole lot of people that I would not run into walking the beat. That gave me power. So they would have to call me, Ted, that was my wife, could you do something? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, I'll see what I can do. But unless you get them personally, I had no power.
Was there anything where there was double standards as opposed to involving who you could arrest? Were you not allowed to arrest? Oh, no,
you arrested. People? Here's the deal on that. You could arrest, when I was on, you arrest anybody who violated the law.
What year was this?
This is 1962. Okay. The catch comes in this, though. If you are confined to a black neighborhood, then the chance
You
of
only
you
arresting
arresting
black
some,
people.
you only arresting black folks because you're confined. But let me tell you this: